Hi Deepak, speaker बन गया. Hi everyone, good afternoon. So we'll be waiting for a minute for others to join so that we can start the session. I am able to see few people are joining in, so give us a minute to start. Hi guys, welcome. So we are just waiting for a minute for others to join in. I'm able to see few people are joining in. So just allow us a minute for that. Yeah. So I think we have people join in who are joining in. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I mean, we'll be going through one of the presentation which largely talks about the what are the things we should look at when we talk about the platform and how do we evaluate the platforms and all that from that perspective, how this journey can be reimagined. So that is something we are going to do that. Let me just share my screen. You can see few of our friends also joining in. So thank you for joining. Yeah. So we'll be start discussing on the digital platform, how it looks like, and how does the benchmarking adds value to it, and what will be the end result from out of this, right? So largely, whenever we see these platforms as such, the understanding is to have the better platforms. Also, there should be some evaluation parameters or some parameters that needs to be considered when we see the multiple platforms because if you see in today's date, there are multiple options, so it becomes very much difficult to choose one of them, which will be the good for the use case. And let me also tell you that I mean, if any platform works out for X, it may not work for Y, right? So each needs and each requirements are different. So we'll be talking about some frameworks which we can use to evaluate these platforms or to understand which platforms would be the good. So that is something practice we run at our end as well. So without getting much into it, I will just start off on the agenda side. So we'll be talking about the current landscape of digital platforms, what are the metrics you should use for the benchmarking of the platforms as such, and what should be your approach, and how to build a better platforms as such, and some learnings insights we'll try to share from our side. So before that, just let me introduce myself. Myself, Vikrant Kulkarni. I'm working as principal consultant at Digital Fifth, and prior to this, have been worked at multiple banks, small finance banks as well, and having been into largely into the digital payments, also into the digital banking per se. So have been got chance to work on the multiple use cases which were related to like setting up the payment infrastructure, or it could be setting up the digital platform for the bank. So there I had got a chance to work upon that. So here at Digital Fifth, I work from the both sides, from the technology as well as from business. In today's session, I will be accompanied by the Deepak, who is also with me. So Deepak would just request you to introduce yourself as well.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. And as thank you, Vikrant, for introducing me. I'm Deepak. I've been a part of Digital Fifth family for over 3.5 years now, and we've been working meticulously on several digital open banking projects and digital transformation projects. Prior to joining Digital Fifth, I was a data analytics and machine learning expert. And yeah, handing it over to Vikrant.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. Thank you for that. We'll be going through the topics which topic agenda of what we were talking about. But let me introduce our organization also. So we are from the digital field. We are largely the working into the digital finance services, and we are a consulting and advisory firm in India. And largely the services we work are related to the digital and into the BFSI sector. So it will be like digital advisory for banks or fintechs or NBFCs. Open banking area is one of the area where we practice so much. From the fintech side, we work there on the fintech and business. There's startup advisory services. From the investments perspective, there we work on the technology due diligence, which is largely from the tech perspective, how the due diligence of the organizations can be done. And similarly, we have are also running on the started running on the practices which are more on the risk and compliances side. And of course, the digital research and content management is something which we run off as a service. Apart from that, we also host one of the I can say the big event per se, which is Bharat FinTech Summit, which recently had. I can see many of you guys attending the webinar today have been part of the summit as well. So yeah, so with this, I'll just go just beat on the areas which we work on. So we are working with the large fintechs enablers as well as banks and with embedded finance institutions as well as a few of the government enablers. We have little but good presence in the international as well. Training has been one of our services which we are also practicing largely from the corporate training side. We are working with the NBFCs I mean with the services which are largely belongs to the compliances and the risk related services. With the investors also, we are working on the research content management as well as the technology due diligence part of it. Yeah, so largely, the all the platforms as we see, all the players which we are working with our customers are largely belongs to the journey of the digital. So that's the reason wherever we go, we do touch the digital platform segment at all the places. So that's where from that only we are trying to bring up our view on the topic. Training services is one of the vertical which we are running as a corporate training services. So it can be from the fintech ecosystem, how this ecosystem works, what are the different business segments are into the each of the components of digitization. It can be digital lending, payments, open banking, digital banking, product management, which are the very essential skills for the individual which who is working in BFSI sector, considering the way digitization is happening in this sector. This becomes very essential toolkits. So we largely run the corporate training programs based on this, or also any some specific content also got delivered for few of our customers. Yeah, so coming back to our agenda, so we'll be talking largely about the digital platform, how this digital platform can be evaluated through the benchmarking side, and how they can help us. Sorry. So, considering the current landscape of digital platform, before going into it, maybe if we want to talk about the how does the digital platform can be defined as. Largely these are the platforms which gives you access to diverse financial services. So, considering the technology advancement which are there today, due to which the accessibility, integrations, convenience, and security becomes very easy for that. And if I want to talk about the importance of this platform, largely they'll help you to improve the convenience and access for your services to the customers. Of course, the availability is also another part of it. These enable to you to serve more faster way and more efficiently, because if we see the same services, if you want to plug out the digitization out of it, or the without digital platform, with traditional platform, it may become more difficult to manage those services at that scale. And also the security and transparency is one of the component, because if you see in the today's date, all the digital platforms which are there, they are been supported by the secured components and covered up by the secured components. If not, there will be a layer on top of that which is used to secure those platforms, because in digital security is very essential to serve the base of the customer what you have. Yeah, also when it comes to the digital platforms, largely a lot of data is gets generated into these digital platforms, which helps you to use that data to make to have more insights about your customers, as well as to have proper decisioning on top of that, so that you can curate the products and you can curate the offering for that particular customers, and just you will be able to target them in a good sense. Yeah. So this is the ecosystem which how it looks like for the digital banking per se. So if you see, there are multiple digital platforms which you will be able to see here. Likewise, the platforms which are supporting you for the mobile banking, internet banking, or some sort of digital channel services. So a lot of players are there. I mean, the traditional players like Infosys, Oracle, backed by SaaS, Temenos are there. Along with that, some of the new age players which are also building, we can say, layer on top of that for the digital services, which will be like iXit, OneStack, Upswing, Tagit. So these are the few of the digital platforms which have been also into the picture. Also, if you see, there have been, I mean, the support which they are giving to the banks or the financial institutions per se, that enables them to become a more digital version of the bank. So one of the versions would be like from the neo bank and other services, which are also the part of the digital platform per se. So this platforms are very wide. They have a lot of new age functionalities which have been enabled to serve the customer in more better way and efficient way, as well as it also allows the customers or their service offerers to have more functionality, to provide them more functionality which is data driven, customer driven. Also, you will be able to provide the specific services to the specific customers, considering the data what they have, and building analytics on top of that does definitely helps them to build more efficient services for their players. Yeah. So how does value digital platforms helps is one of the basic the I mean proposition what we can talk about is the customer acquisition cost. Considering the current customer acquisition which happens on the digital, the cost are definitely are very much different from the traditional approaches, right? Because offline acquisition, which we say largely involves into the people on the ground having feet on the street, having their efforts put into bringing one customer on the line, which becomes more efficient when it comes to the digital way. So definitely there will be case to case basis. It may not apply for all, but at certain level, yes, we can say that the digital platform definitely helps to cheap your customer acquisition cost. Also, the customer service automation. So, a lot of digital platform provides the customer to have a more automated alternatives such as chatbots. Likewise, one of the bank had claimed very recently that more than 90% of their customer services have been put on the chatbot, and the response is very good from the customers as well. Because traditionally, if you see, whenever you try to reach out to the customer care or the customer service center, typically you go into the loop of having wait for the one proper answer to come from the other side, because IVR may not help at all the times, right? So that's where it becomes very much important to have to have the understanding from the customer as well, that what he is looking out for, he or she is looking out for. That's where the chatbots also help. So at the scale, this offers the self-service platform and the self-fulfilled. So likewise, we say about the DIY journeys, right? Do it yourself sort of journeys. So when I say if I want to open a savings bank account, largely people will imagine that I will be going to the branch and writing up some form and open up the account. So when we say if I want to open the new savings account, typically what we have in the mind that I'll download some app, or I'll go to some of the portal of the leading or any of the digital banks per se, and just put up my request out there. And maybe I mean, no matter of time, I'll have the basic checks done, KYC, etc. done, and I may have the virtual card in my mobile phone, which I can use right away. Of course, typically by putting the initial funds, yeah. So that is how this helps for the when you have the I mean self-service journeys, you have good economics which you can build, because you may not have to invest much into the people to manage the customers as per se. So typically this journey, if I want to look at the offline acquisition, you would have a chain of people who are serving for that customer, that gets simplified at scale definitely. Also, I was talking about the data, right? I mean, the data which you can collect through the digital platforms also helps you to build the curated journeys for the customer. I mean, simplistic example, if I want to take like today's digital platform also enables you to have your personalized dashboard. Likewise, when I log in into the mobile banking, just giving as an example of the mobile banking. So if I'm logging into the mobile banking of X bank, and typically I look after the say fund transfer service and checking my balance on the but if you see typically the tiles which we have today will have the multiple options like open an account, open an FD, etc. So that can be simplified with the option of more. The functions which I typically use more can be the first prioritized over the other functions, so that I'll have the personalized experience out there. We have had also aware of having personalized rewards. There have been a lot of companies which are providing now personalized rewards. Those are also based on the data, but how to collect that data is like in offline scenario it's nearly impossible. But if you see in the digital scenario, when you have digital platforms in the picture, you get the trail of customers each step of what he has performed on, and whatever he has done on the platform, and that helps to you to build a personalized offerings for those customers. Yeah, so even the virtual branch banking experience can also be one of the experience that can be built, which will give you the VR sort of offerings for your customers. So where the I mean, where there is banks, I mean, the branches which are not there, where the typically customer base is very lower or etc. There, the virtualization can definitely help, and virtual branch banking services can be experienced on the digital platforms. From the operations perspective, definitely the efforts and the resources which have been put to manage the operations part can be reduced. So considering the combination of digitization as well as the self-service offerings to the customer, you can definitely have improvement on top of this. So these are the few best things which can be picked up as a part of the value proposition of digital platforms. So, what are the components that we should consider when we are talking about the digital platforms? Is largely like what are the customer journeys that have been there? So, maybe to contextualize or to understand, we will talk about the specific use cases, which largely will be around the mobile banking platforms. But before that, my colleague Deepak has also posted a feedback form on in your chat section, so request everybody to access that and give us a feedback, because that will help us to improve on our services as well as it will give us an understanding for to connect with you. Yeah. So, considering on the critical components of digital platform, the customer journey is one of the basic component that comes first to the mind, right? Definitely, the customer acquisition experience has to be a good experience. When we talk about having do-it-yourself journeys, those journeys has to be there in the platform setup in the way that customers should not struggle to do that journey. So, if I talk about having opening up, say, savings bank account on the mobile banking platform, I'm downloading some mobile banking platform to open that account, but I'm struggling to get the option, or I'm struggling to do the KYC, or I'm struggling to understand what are the terminologies which have been written onto the app, right? Which might be a very specific ones. So that may not help. So it has to be simplistic. The easier for user to use, it should be in the way that any user which is outside the domain, if he wants to understand or if he wants to access those services, it will be easier for him. So there has to be the pre-login sections where the different options to be there. Also the security of aspects and different login sections has to be there. So process for documentation also has to be there, that how the say in terms of mobile banking, I downloaded that app, I somehow opened the account, now want to active that mobile banking for the users. So that process has to be there written, maybe in a pictorial or in an animated way, so that the user himself can understand what next step he has to do and can be continue the journey. So once I log in into the section, I'll have the dashboard which will be coming in. Like I was talking a few minutes back, having too many options in the first screen may not be helpful. But if I have been given option for me to set up the, I mean, if I have given the option to the customer to set up his dashboard on his own, he can pick up the services which are likely to be used by him always. And I can just prioritize those options and give him as a dashboard, like simplistic, like the what will be the account balance in the multiple accounts, what are the checks which are outstanding in some cases, what are the debit cards which are active, what are the different deposits which I have done. A simplistic window would be there, and largely I would be using it to do the transfer. So maybe these 5 6 styles can be the part of my dashboard, which is very easy for me to use, and which are the normally functions which I look into the mobile banking whenever I logged in. Yeah, so on the UI/UX also plays a very important role. I mean, having a good service-driven mobile banking solution, but not the control on the UI/UX, like very bright colors or the colors which are not that intuitive may not be helpful. So it has to be subtle in a way. It also can have the options to use like themes. If you see today, a lot of the mobile apps are also coming with the option of having themes for the app, like dark theme or light theme sort of thing, or it can have the personalized theme section as well for to make the color look more appealing. Apart from that, like the information, how these are information have been used, very much it is easy for use, right? The sections which are likely to be used by the users, what is their position, how they are been put up, what are the placement of the products which have been done. Likewise, at certain services, I may have the customer services option as one of the option into the mobile banking app right at the front, so that any customer who wants to avail any services or he needs a support from the customer care, he can definitely click on it and avail the services. Yeah. Apart from that, the competitive analysis of product offered has to be displayed out there, because many of the times, like multiple products have been defined out there, but to know which are the products that are used for you, you need to go through that product, understand that product, and read through it, and then take your decision. Likewise, say suppose if bank is having a mobile banking solution where they are offering the credit card, and as a customer, if I click on the credit card link, it is giving me the say option of 10 to 15 different products, out of which I am enabled for the or eligible for the 3 to 4 type of products only. Then it's very much what you can say, it very much uh, obvious that I should get only those 3 4 options only. I mean, instead of going each of the option and understanding that or applying it and knowing that I am not eligible, will not be a great experience. So I should have those three, four offerings which I am eligible for only. So what are the different value services that will be on top of that that should be opened up, and the best one to be given to me as a priority for me to choose, and the others I can explore whenever I want. So that's how the product details and the new features can be set up into the platform. Financial transaction perspective. So like basic financial services has to be the part of the mobile banking platform or the digital platform as such, where you should have options to do the bill payment. You should have options to recharge your you can say the DTH etc. or mobile number, or you should also have the option of for the credit card payments or loans or travel, entertainment, and other services. From non-financial perspective, the value-added services which are largely required for the customer to drive, right? Suppose if I want to update my PAN number or maybe nominee in some cases, right? I have opened an online FD account, but I haven't mentioned the nominee back then. Now, if I want to update the nominee or if I want to change the name of the nominee, those options has to be there as a part of non-financial transactions. Many of the time, these non-financial transactions also helps a lot because there can be two type of need of the user, right? One will be the transactional needs, so it will be the non-transactional needs. So this largely helps to have the non-transactional needs as well. Likewise, to have to understand what is my expense category largely looks like, where I'm spending much. I mean, considering the today's scenario where the all the transactions are digitally enabled, right? Unlikely we use cash for any of the transaction. So considering that, you will always have the trail of that customer that where he is spending. So a good amount of data is there around that, right? So you will be able to build your dashboard on top of that, which will help the customer to understand where he is spending much and what are his typical expenses looks like. Apart from that, the data practices definitely gives a lot of options. I mean, if you see today's journeys for the existing to bank customer, typically journeys are the pre-approved. I mean, the digital platforms, the way they are supporting the journeys of the customer, they definitely gives you the option to have better, you can say, services to you directly, right? So, for example, if I'm using X bank account, a savings bank account, and I'm having typically balance of say 10 lakhs on an average per year, so I would be it will be very easier for me to use the lending services as such of that bank, since bank will be giving me the pre-approved line sanction to me, so that can be used by the person. So those are the basic things which can be offered by the financial institution. But to do that, there are a lot of things that has to be done in the back end, right? Even though the person would be the existing to bank customer, the bank will have to still do the underwriting which they have to do. They will still have to do the risk mapping which they do. So the data which is I mean captured through the platform definitely helps to provide these services to the customer. The other services like wealth management, insurance services, PPF, tax payment services, those are been seen coming to the digital platforms because largely the customers which are been enabled to use these platforms typically link to have everything on the platform. And when largely anyone would be in this I mean in this room would be largely the people who might have visited for to the branch to take the service on any of the components. Yeah. Card management are the again the services which are very essential ones, like blocking of the card, limit management. In case of credit cards, enable and disable toggling of the card services. Those are typically been seen on these digital platforms. So these are the very critical components, I would say, that should be the part of the platform in any way. In the digital transformation per se, there are few of the services which we were talking about or referring to have been largely digitized till now, or there have been some of the products which require much more focus. Likewise, if I want to say about account opening, some of the services which are related to wealth management from the equity and MF side, fund transfer and payment services are typically the one which are largely been solved. I mean, there will be some or few components which might be still missing out, but if I see it from the broader spectrum, it looks pretty good out there. From the lending services, from the unsecured side, so it will be a personal loan, business loan, credit card. A few of the customer services, typical specific examples. If I want to take about the two-wheeler loans, which fall into the category of unsecured plus some part of secured loans per se, I would say. So that has been partially been digitalized in some of the manner through these platforms. But if I want to talk about more from the perspective where the personal touch is needed or some of the documentation which is not yet digitized, that really needs a focus a lot to get into the to get entry into the digitization, as well as the digital platforms also have space to touch up those areas to build something which can be used by the many of the financial institutions as a part of their digital transformation journeys. Yeah. So from the current landscape of digital platforms, there I would just request Deepak to take ahead on this part. So yeah, Deepak, over to you.
Yeah, just a second, guys. I hope my screen is visible. Thank you, Vikrant. We've gone through how the digital platforms or digital products have been evolving in the market. So let us understand what is the current landscape looking like, and then let's take it forward. So as we've been discussing from the earlier parts, so the basic parts of the banking, which have been the checking balances or a view transaction history or transferring funds, have been where the digitalization has started in terms of the BFSI ecosystem or the digitization, the products or services which were mostly largely available for the customer. From there, it went on to the online payments, which was much more matured in terms of today's day when we see it. And then we've gone to comparison of, your insurance, your policy bazaar or insurance comparison codes, where most of the coverages and every other things which were largely not available earlier is something that started. And UPI has been one of the majority revolutions where digitization for the transactions have picked up. And as of today, if at all we see with the availability of API integrations and third-party integrations, let alone the payment part, let alone the payments which have been digitized, but we can see we can also manage our credit cards on third-party platforms. We are also able to set our NASH transactions or control NASH transactions, or kind of also edit our mandates which are happening, and also are able to raise the request to have, certain services like for a checkbook, which are, rarely used but still utilized in some of the places, or blocking the cards or something that which have been regularly used, right? Beyond that, beyond the payment gateways of the life, we've come to the tap and go or digitization of the interfaces, which are moved to the variables, and several business payments or the cross-border transactions, which have been very minuscule in terms of the digital availability earlier. But as of today, the sophistication is there. It's not just your PayPal or several limited platforms which kind of enable these cross-border transactions, but there are several banks who are directly doing it at the click of a right. So that's as sophistication as it has got. And we've also got the insurance platforms, which where not only buying the insurance is digitized, but also claims are something digitized. So this has brought down the claims or buy. This has made buying very easier, but also has ensured the claims. And the time taken to process a claim has considerably come down from almost 10 to 15 days to 3 to 4 days. And also there are several RegTech solutions where your AML checks or your KYC process, further saying, which is, very digitized as of today, right? So, be it DigiLocker, be it your Aadhaar authentication, which is available, not only seamlessly helps you onboard onto financial platforms, but also helps you authenticate yourself across several transactions that you're going through, right? So that has brought down the onboarding as well as the primary checks of the customer very simple to a simple note where it is utilizable across. And moving to the market trends and growth statistics in terms of the digitization, payments is something that we spoke about, where mobile banking and several cloud banking platforms have come, helped scale the particular transactions and help the organizations move into several different levels of sophistication in terms of the digital platform availability. Where the platforms today are so sophisticated to understand where is that which part of the day is where your UPI transactions spike up. When does your server get into the auto scaling mode, or how do you manage it in the backend, right? So it is just the direct platform which is managing it in the backend. And moving to your, P2P lending transactions or other lending transactions, where the growth is, the unsecured lending part, where the growth has been something really crazy. It is gradually moving into the secured lending as well, where digital lending platforms will start to become more sophisticated to start, suiting the requirements of the financial institutions. And on the insurtech side, data has been something that most of the financial institutions platforms have been leveraging in several places, right? So not just on the insurtech side, where including the whole of the BFSI ecosystem is banking on how to utilize this particular data, how AI can be utilized or machine learning can be utilized by. I mean, uh, Long gone are the days where these are just buzzwords which have been utilized, right? And most of the banks are readily deploying predictive analytics, trying to understand, through chat GPT integrations, how they can actually help the customers solve the queries right then and there. And long waiting of the customer queues are also gone, where you just, speak out what is the issue that you have and directly, connected to that particular department, right? So that's a kind of sophistication that is coming in. And in terms of the digital payments, we've got crossed multiple milestones where, digitization is something that is picking up, and several of the UPI platforms, as we see as of today, be it your phone pay, Paytm, or even your GPay, have not been restricted to just these payments, right? They have expanded into several other services, where we can see as a platform, once you start building it and the customer has the stickiness, there is a long requirement for the services to be integrated onto that particular platform. And once the customer sees that particular stickiness, they want to utilize that particular service more often there. This completely depends upon the user's choice of the minuscule or the simple UI which is there, or the sophistication of certain transactions which are there, or amalgamation of several services being available on the single platform, right? And beyond that, the co-lending, co-lending has emerged as one of the, finds of this particular digital situation, where it has become easy for the organizations to integrate, provide these services, and at the end of the day, not any organization dependent, and they've gone organization agnostic to provide these particular services, right? So that's the kind of growth that is happening. And moving towards the challenges faced by the digital platforms. So one, the competition is really high as we speak. So all of us today have at least 3 to 4 bank accounts, and must have onboarded ourselves onto all the payment apps that are there. And we must all be utilizing the Swiggy's and Zomatos of the world, where we have both of the applications on our mobile, and be it Uber, Ola. So whatever we name it as a service, whatever are the alternatives that are expected to be there in the market, we are all utilizing both the services, right? So loyalty at the end of the day has come down to the serviceability, where the serviceability is more efficiently available for that particular moment and for that particular part of the day. So that's where, as a customer, this ensuring that the stickiness of the customer is there on the platform has become very difficult. So, for new entrants to actually stay in the competition, yet ensure we drive this particular growth in the digital arena, has become really a big challenge. And on the user-centric focus part, where as of today, as a customer, when we get onto a particular onboard ourselves onto a platform, we expect a personal touch to be there, right? So gone are the days where we just onboard and expect hello user, right? So I mean, just with the mobile number, these are the days where even the PAN number and your other details are being fetched. The platform understands who you are, fetches all the basic required details that are to be expected for the customer to be populated. And on the regulatory compliance side, I mean, in terms of because of the integrations that are happening, be it your third-party integrations that are coming in, or several of the ancillary services that are being utilized in the backend, compliance has become a bigger challenge for most of the organizations. So when the service is actually integrated to a third-party platform and is being utilized across, and when there is a lack of adherence to the compliance from the third-party platforms, then I mean, at the end of the day, it's just still the regulated organizations who are being penalized, and the platforms at the end of the day are at the trouble of going out of business, right? And then integration with the legacy systems. I mean, whereas today, when we speak of modernization, digital transformation that is happening in several of the financial institutions, we still see there are, they are in a hybrid mode of digital transformation where there are still certain systems which are running on the legacy architecture where they are expected to be, digitized in future times, right? So that's where most of the organizations, while the third-party platforms or several banks having these capabilities, are unable to integrate these particular services and utilize it in the backend. Yeah. And yeah. Moving on to the moving on to the continuous. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Moving on to the continuous improvement and adaptation to the market changes, where I mean, as of today, as a digital platform, whatever changes that are happening in the market, the platform is expected to be adopted to that particular service, right? So that's where there is a new requirement where the regulator says it, or there is a new sophistication. One of the platform brings it on. The customer expects that same particular sophistication to be available across multiple places, right? So that is where most of the challenges, or in terms of the enhancements that are coming, each of the financial institution or the platforms are having to transform themselves into a technological organization to get into that improvement space, ensure the adherence to the market expectations and the customer expectations, and at the same time have a really robust architecture built in the backend to ensure easy rollouts, and still at the end of the day, having to comply with all the changes that are happening, right? So that's where there are several challenges digital platforms are facing, yet the growth has been very humongous, where be it the customers, be it the sophistication of the service which are available, is actually helping the ecosystem bud out into a new future. Yeah. Before we actually get into the benchmarking metrics and how do we actually achieve success, I request everyone to kindly provide your feedback. It'll be very helpful for us to understand where we can help you in terms of the services, or also understand where we can improve ourselves. Yeah. So moving on to the benchmarking approach, as we've been discussing across, how the platforms have been increasing, how the growth of the platforms have become, have become really humongous, where the customers are expecting several changes to happen, and the sophistication is expected on platforms where, at the end of the day, it's not as simple as enabling and disabling of a particular service, right? On a digital platform, whereas the customer only sees it as a particular transaction enablement that needs to be there, but there are several systems in the backend that are to be streamlined and ensured. So that's where we are proposing this typical bench, or proprietary benchmarking framework, where we have actually achieved success with several financial institutions trying to understand how they can master this particular digital era and improve the particular services and service delivery to the customer. So as a part of this benchmarking practice, what we generally do is we understand the several set of parameters. We differentiate into functional as well as non-functional parameters, differentiate certain domains, which we'll see in subsequent slides, how they can be utilized, and how they can actually help in improvement of the journeys of be it your product, or be it your service, or be it your platform as such holistically. And at the end of the day, the inside and outside view of the particular platform, where most of the organizations are still going inside out approach, where they want to build and then go into the market, whereas most of the platforms, when we speak about, are expected to have the outside in approach. So understand what is happening in the market, then bring those particular changes into the platform, understand how is it strategically going to benefit your product or service or platform, or how is it going to contribute to your business at the end of the day. So these are all the analysis that you have to do before you even start your benchmarking activity, and define what are your goals and objectives of that benchmarking activity. And at the end of the day, the journey experience is something which is mandatory. I mean, the customers these days don't expect a broken journey to be there, and they don't expect to take that journey periodically once and again to just onboard themselves. I mean, I'm just speaking of 2 3 days ago, where we were trying to, check several services of multiple banks and multiple financial institutions, where we were trying to onboard ourselves, and still we see there is a lot of broken journey. So that's where, even at the day where we say the first phase of digital transformation in most of the financial institutions is over, the journey experience and the optimization of journey is still in the way of optimizing or in the way of improving. So, and from there on, we actually help you create a really robust scoring metrics, where not just on the features of your particular product, not just on the products that you need to offer on your platform, we also help you improve which part of your particular platform you need to improve. So be it the journeys, be it your customer experience, be it your customer service experience that needs to be built, or integration of several products or services which the customers are expecting but your platform does not provide. And then ensuring the customer and the the reporting expectations are properly there, where you can logically understand which services are critical, what are the next set of services that you need to start focusing upon, where the market is going, what are the things that we need to do in terms of the next strategic direction of the organization. Yeah. So those are the things that will help you through the reporting. And at the end of the day, platform enhancement is something that we still help you with. So that is where we work very closely with you to deploy those particular, help you deploy the changes, and see how you can actually improve your particular platforms, and directly work with you to ensure all the expected changes are also deployed in the platforms. And here are several techniques that we use towards the benchmarking and the coverage piece, where we utilize, let's say you are looking to improve your internal system performance processes or your internal operations, and we do historical benchmarking, trying to understand where your current performance stands in terms of your past performance, and what are the targets that you would like to achieve. So these could be, at the end of the day, your system efficiency or API efficiency that is there, or how do you optimize the resources that are there in the background, how do you ensure you hit the traffic, you enhance that particular experience of the customers in a high traffic situation, or how do you ensure even at the peak performance there are no drop-offs or miscommunications or wrong transactions that happen. And we also help you do peer benchmarking. This is where we help you understand the strategic direction of your particular organization, what are the things that you need to improve as an organization, what are your peers doing, what are the things that you need to build upon, how is your business heading in terms of the current performance, how are you faring with your competitors or peers in this particular situation, how is your particular product performing. This product could be, this could be your journeys, features of your particular product, what is the kind of sophistication that you're offering in the UI, or also something that we check here. And in terms of the collaborative benchmarking, we see how we can actually start working with you to understand and collate the data insights that are there, improve, build the best practices that are coming in, and then improve the competitiveness of your particular platform that is there. And then we also bring the external benchmarking perspective, where we try and understand what are the things that can actually help you experience this particular journey, not just in terms of just benchmarking that particular product or feature. We help you experience that, and then bring those insights back and improve your particular platform. Before I head on to the next slide, I request you all to please let us know in case you have any questions that we can help you with. Yes, Rohit, you can unmute and let us know your question. Rohit, you're on mute. Yes, Rohit, these parameters are also applicable in the gig economy. So, I mean, it again is very agnostic towards a service that you're trying to do. At the end of the day, there are several competitors in the market who have brought in enough innovation and sophistication. So, based on your particular domain, we can actually personalize these parameters in terms of the expectations of the customers, and how we can fulfill those requirements is something that we can help you. And then competitively improving your platform will be the end goal. Yeah. So I'd ask Vikrant to take over, please.
Thanks, Deepak. So that was useful. We'll be also now talking about the approach which we would like to take. So some of the questions which we have taken up, but would like to go through the make a move to the approach. What typically approach which we follow while benchmarking the platforms. Let me just share my screen, please. Yeah. So basically, this largely goes during the scoring criteria, which has been generally followed from the perspective of the what are the features those are available, what are the basic features if they are available. From that perspective, the scoring criteria has been put up like considering the if a feature is not available, the scoring will be 1. If basic feature is available, it's 2. And then basic feature plus good design consistency. So typically, it go is in a gradual way to make the move to the greatest scoring criteria as per. So the approach would be largely to have understanding of platform domain category, particular product and features and functionalities. Also the current availability of products which are there and features along with the strategic roadmap for the future products and features. And the benchmarking largely looks after the SWOT analysis, strength and weaknesses which have been captured during the study. What are the scoring that has been given into the scale of 1 to 5, and also the category or domain subsequently scored and normalized on the scale of 1 and 5. Yeah, I think there is one more question which I've been here, that which apps do you think doing well in today's digital era? So largely it's the answer will be bias per se, because the every app which has been used by the user looks good for the user if those are based on their needs. So largely it would be if I would say there will be no specific apps as such I would like to name it, but largely the apps which are providing definitely the personalized view to the user and taking care of his needs as well as his the prioritization to his services what he is looking out for, giving him the experiences which are very specific to that domain would definitely have the upper hand in terms of servicing the customer or getting the customer having the comfort of using those app for all the needs which they would like to have in that domain. Yeah. Yeah, so from the functional parameters perspective, here are the some basic parameters which have been spelled it out. Like if I want to talk about the what is the user authentication and security, then what are the parameters against that would be the what are authentication method those have been used, what are the authorization controls that have been put. Likewise, if there is in case of mobile apps, I would say the authentication would be more from the your facial recognition can be there, passwords will be there, biometric will be there, numeric pin would be there, right? So what are the different parameters which have been enabled. From the account management perspective, what are the account operations that have been enabled? Personalized options have been there. Transaction processing, customer interaction and support, product services, like ease of using products, a range of the products that can have the you can say the easiest way to access the support needs, was raising the you can say a ticket or raising the issues on the app itself, and finding out the solution then and there itself would be the ideal one. So those are the few functional parameters that could be considered upon. Also, this is also largely driven by the non-functional parameters, like what is the performance, how the system is, how the platform is performing to the evolving needs of the customer. And also at the many of the times, say suppose just to give an example, likewise there is some we can say sale which is going on, right, where the say the platforms which have been offering those offers, if the digital payment of that platform at that point of time does not behave properly and does not give the peak performance, then definitely the experience will not be good, right? The resource optimization has to be there. So in today's area where a lot of applications are also opting to go on the cloud, there the optimization of resources is very much useful, right? That helps to have the peak performance at the one point of time, as well as the expenses would also be in control. Usability perspective, UI UX and some accessibility standards has to be there. Security compliance, one of the area that should not be loosely picked up on, that is right, security and compliance. It has to be given priority at any point of time, like considering the data security, considering the latest data protection guidelines which have been used by many of the financial institutions, that has to be have the encryption. At many of the places you will have the PI data of the customer on the platform, that has to the different sort of vault facilities should be availed at that point of time. The compliance frameworks has to be very specific, which are related to that particular domains. For example, if I'm talking about digital payment has digital payment security controls. In case of lending, digital lending guidelines are there, which are securing some of the practices of data sharing between the two entities, etc. Vulnerability assessment and management has to be there. The largely, which is also called as the VAPT practices, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, those has to be picked up in what you can say, in a cyclic way, so that you will always have the secured and compliant platform at all point of time, because there will be the last man on the earth who would like to have services which are not secured or the compliant enough, right? Also the reliability and availability. So if services has to be consistent on the platform, and likewise BCP, the business continuity plans should be there, disaster recovery failure mechanisms should be there. Say suppose at any point of time, if any transaction doesn't go successful, if you get immediately message that your transaction was not successful, and you can retry the transaction and refund is already been posted in your account, definitely customer will give it a try, right? Because if you say in the many places, what happens that you go, you do the transaction, but if transaction are not successful, you don't get any response. That becomes a difficult situation for the user as well, where the customer is not able to take the call, whether he has to repeat the transaction or he has to wait for the response, etc. So these are the ones which are non-functional parameters, but that definitely affects the capability or the efficiency of the digital platforms. So we have been practiced similar functions for the one of the financial institution or for the digital platform with one of the bank, where we got chance to work on the digital platform for the bank, where we understood their journeys, their current journeys, mapped it with the journeys which are there in the market as well, and picked up the some analyzed quantitative and qualitative data on top of that, and that gave us a lot of understanding of the current what you can say, the uh, current state of the particular bank. Yeah. So yeah, that helps a lot, considering the formulated platforms which you have, and what should be the next step for the platforms, and which largely calls about the roadmap. So we got chance to also work on the very small components which are there, which will be largely having the decisioning on the what should be the nature of industry there, into what are the impact and experiences, revenue, the domain features we had got chance to work upon. Also, we got chance to have I mean the impact analysis for them, because since the customer have been our long tail customer, we had got chance to get deep into the understanding and how it has evolved the life of the users, which or the life of the customers which they were serving, and how it has helped them as well. So with this, we would have a pause now. So we'll open up if you have any questions. You can put it into the chat box as well. Also, we have shared the feedback on the chat again. I would request all to please give the feedback, because that helps us to curate our contents as well. And definitely, if we have any synergies, if you have any questions which cannot be asked here, or which you might get after this session, you can definitely reach out to me or Deepak, either of us, onto the LinkedIn or any of the other social media platform out there. Yeah, so there is one question from the perspective that what are the few KPIs to measure the user experience of super apps apart from the service requests and complaints? I would suggest that the understanding the customer journey and the drop-offs is one of the KPIs which you can use to measure the user experience, right? Because many of the times, if we see today, the as Deepak also was mentioning, I mean, we will have the 4 to 5 accounts with us, right? So, say suppose taking an example that I'm using 4 to 5 accounts of different banks. If I'm not getting a good experience from one bank, I'll definitely move to the other one. It will take a second for me to decide. That I will not put any of the service request or complaint out there. So that may not be the perfect API to measure the customer user experience. So largely understanding their backend journeys, what are their we can say the typical journeys of what customer has spent out there. Say suppose if I'm closely banking with one of the bank, and I'm using their mobile banking app, and I'm doing all the transaction including UPI from the mobile banking itself. But all of a sudden I'm started putting up the maintaining low balance onto the account. So definitely there would be something that I would expect analytics should come up in the backend, which will alarm those things, like stating that the user have been seen transferring his funds immediately after getting credit, or having been the difference in the uses of the transactions, which have been typically been the heavier uses of digital transactions that have been slowed down, etc. So the last thing would be to wait for the customer to put up request and complaint, best to have the reverse work for it, so that you would provide the best services to the customer at all the times. Yeah, so I think yeah, that's it from our side. If you have any questions, we are still online. A few of the questions which were there that we have picked up, and as I'm again mentioning that request all of you to please share the feedback so that we will be able to get what are the things that we need to improve upon or work upon. Or your suggestion will also definitely help us to use those suggestions to create our webinar topic for our next sessions. Yeah, I think
That's
that's
it
it
from
from
our
our
side.
side.
Me
Me
and
and
Deepak.
Deepak both are reachable on the LinkedIn. You can connect with us, or you can put connect through our website as well. We would be happy to assist you. Uh, yeah, that's it. This is me and Deepak signing off from here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you.